First of all, thank you Vishnu and GREedge for organizing this webinar. A very warm good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to the ISB's postgraduate program webinar today. A few participants could make it for the webinar, and I'm sure that you will find a lot of value in the session today. Let me now explain the format of the presentation to you. So in the PPT today, we are going to cover the ISB value proposition. I'm going to talk about our unique portfolio faculty model, describe our integrated learning methodology. I will present placement related statistics, and after which I will take you through alumni network, facilities on campus, and the admissions process, for which I think all of you are very, very excited and keen to know more about. I will cover financing options and the admission timelines. As many of you would already know, the ISB is the pioneer in the one-year management education in the country, and over the many years, many others have followed suit. But do you know what triggered the birth of ISB? And I would like to share some stories and data from 1990s. In fact, let me also mention that I have been fortunate to be part of the ISB community as a student as well. I went to ISB in 2008 and graduated from the class in 2009. So at that point in time, I was also, like you, very eager to join a business school, and I was very, very excited, which I'm sure everybody of you joining the webinar today is. So coming back to the history of ISB, back in 1996, some of the top minds in business and academia, and I'm talking about people of Indian origin. All of these people were in US and they were doing very, very well in their careers, and all of them got together as a group and they asked this question to themselves: why can't we have a top class business school like a Wharton or Harvard in this part of the world? And as a result, ISB was conceived of as a school which will be globally top ranked, research driven, and will produce leaders for India and the world. Now, we have been in existence for the past 15 years, and I'm sure a lot of you, many of you would have read stories about successful ISB alumni and the kind of contribution they make to the society in general. The ambition set was, sort of tall order, and in order to do that, we tied up with the very best in business. So as you can see on the screen, our founding partner schools were Wharton, Kellogg, and London Business School. And subsequently, we tied up with MIT Sloan and Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Now, what is the advantage of these tie-ups? Are these just names out there, or there is some material benefit which comes to the students at ISB? So what happens is, we have area leaders from all of these business schools. We have their faculty coming to teach at ISB. We have international exchange programs which you can participate in with these schools. And finally, faculty from ISB and from these schools conduct joint research. And one of the important focus areas for ISB is to be a cutting-edge research provider. And we are extremely, extremely focused on research, and that is why all our actions and initiatives we take foster that kind of spirit as well. You can see on the left-hand side bottom of the screen the AACSB logo, which is the Association to Advance Collegiate School of Business. What this means is that we are benchmarked against the very best business schools across the globe in terms of the process and procedures we follow, and you can be sure that we follow very high standards in everything we do here. Let me also mention that only 5% of the global B schools have this accreditation. Now let me talk about the 1 year which you will spend at ISB. The 1 year spent at ISB is all about transformation. You embark on a journey that will expand your thinking and will change your outlook. Now personally, I have seen many transformative stories in the ISB community, and I cannot share those stories with you owing to the format of the show, but I really encourage all of you to go to the ISB portal, or you can type ISB YouTube channel on Google, and you should watch out the Belief video which is up there whenever you get time. It is a very thought-provoking video where some of our alumni have spoken about their ISB beliefs, their experiences, and also how have they been leveraging those learnings after graduating from ISB. And this video is a very thought-provoking video, and I'm sure that many of you will find inspiration from it. So do go ahead and watch this video at leisure. At ISB, it doesn't really matter where you come from. If you join the program and you come here with a learning mindset and are willing to immerse yourself in the learning experience, let me assure you that you will discover your calling, whatever that might be. And using the tools and techniques we teach you here, you will be able to follow your dream. And this essentially is the ISB value proposition. Now, we have 5 very strong pillars on which this value proposition rests. And these pillars are distinctive faculty at ISB, our integrated learning approach, the high quality network you will be a part of, the world-class facilities we have, and excellent career opportunities we create for our students. Now, I'm going to cover all of these in detail. Moving on to the next slide, one of the strongest pillars on which the ISB PGP value proposition rests is distinctive faculty at ISB. Now, I can say with confidence that ISB faculty is second to none across the globe. We have a unique portfolio faculty model where we invite faculty from the 70 top business schools across the globe. Now, these are not guest lectures I talk about. Here, I'm talking about a format where faculty will come to ISB. They will stay for 6 weeks, which is 1 term at ISB, and then they go back. We actually cherry pick the best faculty for a given subject from the best B school possible, and under a single umbrella, you get the best faculty at ISB who stay here and teach. What that also means is they are available to you beyond the classroom hours as well. And in fact, I know alumni who keep in touch with them since they provide consulting to top companies across the globe, and their rich practical and research experience adds a lot of value. Now, we also have an equally impressive 50 resident faculty members at ISB who have great credentials, and besides teaching, they are involved in a lot of research work. A third-party study has shown that the research output of ISB in a 10-year period has been more than any other institution in India. And this is no surprise to me, because at the very inception and even in our vision statement, we have research very prominently up there. The graph you can see on the right-hand side of the screen shows how our resident faculty pool has grown over the years, and it remains our endeavor to grow this pool further. Now, you must understand it is extremely difficult for us to get top quality faculty come teach and stay at ISB. It's really difficult because there are factors beyond our control. There is the standard of living, the quality of education for kids, the research opportunities, and all of other such factors. The person you see on the right here is a very renowned faculty in operations management at ISB. He is an Indian, and he actually was teaching at Kellogg for a couple of years before he decided to come to India. And for him, the obvious choice was ISB because he didn't see anything else which will fit and also be useful for him in terms of his research pursuits. And the person on the left is Mark Finn, a very renowned faculty in the finance area. And you'll have many more such examples. So whenever you get time, you should go to the ISB website, go to the faculty pool, faculty directory, and find out about the credentials of these professors. And this really is the unique selling proposition at ISB. It is extremely difficult to get such a highly talented pool under a single roof at ISB. Now, moving on to the next slide, which is integrated learning at ISB. Well, the aim of a great education is to provide knowledge of the self. It is to help people live more fulfilling lives and thereby contribute to making the world a better place. Now, ISB's PGP, like other top MBA programs, is designed to effect this self-understanding and create a bias for action that is required to make both personal and professional success possible. Now, how the student uses these skills is really up to each one of them. What we provide here is, and actually I can use an analogy here. So learning at ISB is like peeling of an onion. As you unfold a layer, you will find another one, and so on. And at the very heart, at the core, is the classroom learning at ISB. So we at ISB are not really tied to a particular methodology. In fact, we use a combination of cases, simulation, lectures, and discussions. In the classroom, the case study methodology stresses involvement rather than being a passive observer. And this habit of being an active participant is drilled into the student through multiple cases over the entire year, and it really becomes a habit for them to quickly size up the situations and determine what needs to be done, if anything, and to formulate realistic action plans to get the job done. And in words of Nitin Noria, which is the Dean of Harvard, management is, management was, and management will always be the art of getting things done. So that is that is one of the learning objectives we have at ISB. Now, the second layer of learning at ISB is applied learning, where you apply the concepts which are discussed in the classroom to real-world business problems. The ELP you see on the screen is the experiential learning program, and it really provides you an opportunity to solve a real-world business problem. And this is serious business, because the corporates which come to ISB actually pay a consulting fee to ISB. This does not come free. It's not like a summer training where you approach an organization where they are happy to take you on. But this is serious business. And because these companies find a lot of value, they keep on coming to ISB year on year. So if you are really inclined to start up on your own, so you can join the PAEV course, which is Planning and Entrepreneurial Venture, where you will refine your business ideas using the ISB ecosystem. And you also will get to pitch to VCs who may actually invest money in your idea if it appeals them. People who are academically oriented can join the faculty initiated research project, which also deals with issues of business, but things which are not taught in the classroom or issues beyond the classroom. The last layer of learning, which does not get talked about much, is the peer learning at ISB. So think of it when you are at the cafeteria. So let's say when you are sipping coffee with your friends, you will be discussing with them, you will be discussing your pre-ISB experiences, and whether you realize this or not, you are learning from each other. And this really is a huge differentiator at ISB, because the kind of peers you get here, the kind of classmates you have here are really extremely good, in the sense that they come from different backgrounds in terms of geographies, functions, industry, and experience, and the whole ecosystem gets really all I can say is you will find your every minute of time spent worth it on the campus, because there will be so much learning which will happen from each other, and you will also contribute to that. When you are at ISB, you are a peer, and you will also aid the learning of others. That is the essence of the learning methodology at ISB. Now, there are both structured ways and unstructured ways in which peer learning happens, and you can be part of the professional clubs or social clubs, which are completely student driven at ISB. So depending on your interest or where you want to build functional knowledge, you join a club accordingly. And you also participate in the numerous seminars and conferences where industry leaders are invited to share their insights and experiences. Now, moving on to entrepreneurship. So we have a huge focus, and from day one we believe that a business school should not create job seekers only, but we should also be job creators. And I'm very happy to share, and I'm very proud as well to share, that today roughly 450 successful ventures are out of ISB, and every week on the alumni portal I see a new mail of some new venture being floated. Now we have a very conducive ecosystem where we provide you access to capital, access to knowledge, access to innovation, support, and we also try to influence policy making and governance in the country. If you are interested in knowing more, I encourage you to go to the ISB website and go to the entrepreneurship page and find out more. Now moving on, let me talk about the global network we have. So some of you might know that we have roughly 7,500 alums now. In a short span of 15 years, we have alums in 41 different countries. And I mentioned earlier 450 out of which are entrepreneurs, and 400 have actually reached the CXO level. CXO means you could be a chief executive officer, could be a chief financial officer, chief marketing officer, chief technology officer, so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, this is a very, very closely knit symbiotic group you can reach out to for advice, support, and guidance. So today our alums are spread across the globe. I mentioned 41 countries, but let me also tell you that across 120 cities you will find ISB alumni and doing extremely well. And you must be reading out news and stories in the media which talk about the performance orientation of ISB alums, and they contribute large in a very, very impressive fashion for all the corporates they've been working for. So the spread is in finance, technology, consulting, etc. You can see those numbers up there, and we are extremely proud of our alumni community at ISB. Now moving on to facilities at ISB, if any of you had the chance of visiting either the Hyderabad or the Mohali campus, you would vouch for the fact that these are world-class facilities we have created, and the idea was to provide facilities to the students so that they focus only on their learning and all the other things are taken care of. So when you apply to ISB, you don't apply to a campus. Now this is very, very different in the Indian context. So we very devotedly follow a one school, two campus philosophy, where you apply to ISB and you graduate from ISB. You do not choose a campus, although you can indicate a preference. We will allocate you a campus with a promise that your experience is not going to be any different irrespective of the campus you join. And similarly, we have a inter-campus exchange where you can move between campuses. We have telepresence with classes conducted at one location and students benefiting from both the locations. And of course, the placement season is also completely integrated, web-based, and the recruiter would not even know which campus you are from. So that is how we create neutrality and equal opportunities for each and every student on campus. Now moving on to careers at ISB, the ISB career team actually has two sub-teams to it. One is the learning and development unit, whose job is to find out opportunities in the marketplace in terms of where could you possibly go after completing the course. And they use a lot of psychometric tools and behavioral tools. They use alumni, industry experts to find out more about you, to help you know more about yourself and find out your strengths. They will also indicate ways in which you have to improve if you are planning to make certain transitions in your career, be it in terms of industry and be it in terms of function. Now the second unit I referred to is the career services unit, which is a business development unit. Now this is completely school run, consisting of experienced professionals who are spread across the country and who will talk to corporates, interact with them, and get those companies to recruit on campus. Now the recruitment happens on campus at ISB for the PGP students, and we are very proud to declare that every year we get stellar opportunities and almost everybody gets placed on the day of graduation, and within 3 months of graduation we have a track record of placing everybody. Now sharing certain statistics with you. Last year 812 students participated in the placement process, and there were 1,150 plus offers made to them. Now another data point to highlight here, and we are very proud of this, is that ISB is second ranked among the top 30 schools as per the Financial Times ranking in salary growth. What that means is when you join in ISB, you come at a certain salary, and after 1 year, your average salary of the class went up by 127%. Now, this is no mean achievement, and we are extremely proud about it. Now, one of the important reasons why people come for a 1-year MBA is to be able to make a shift in terms of careers. And as you can see on the graph, roughly 78% of the class made a functional shift and 85% made an industry shift. Now, on the slide is just an indicative list of recruiters. People who are keen to explore more should go to the website and they should download the placement report, which will give you very detailed information on the kind of companies, salaries, roles, etc. you get on campus. The only point I want to leave you here with is that if you think of any industry, think of the top players in that industry. They keep coming to ISB year on year, and they get some excellent resources from ISB every year. Now moving on to admissions, and at this point in time, let me pause for a while. Since I cannot directly interact with you, I am going to make certain assumptions. And I do not know how many of you here joining the webinar are serious about applying to ISB. But in case you are serious about applying to ISB this year itself, my recommendation is that you should create an application login for yourself. Because I know from experience, a lot of people actually wait to take their GMAT or the GRE test before writing the application, and which, believe me, is a grave mistake. You should never do that. Applying to a business school is a very introspective and therefore is a very time-consuming process. There are a lot of things you have to fill in, a lot of soul searching has to be done, a lot of thinking has to be done, and multiple iterations are required to make a powerful application. So you should always start writing your application parallelly, and of course concurrently prepare for your test, be it GRE or GMAT. Now you can go to the portal and you should create a login for yourself. Doesn't cost you anything, and you will be doing yourself a great service if you start early. Now I heard early on Vishnu sharing fact that many of you are in college, some of you are working, some of you do not have significant amount of work experience. So let me explain the different modes of entry available to you to join the ISB program. For people who are in college, either in the final year or pre-final year of graduation or post-graduation, they are eligible to apply to ISB under the Young Leaders Program, the YLP program. Now this is a long drawn process where you apply, and there are 3 stages to the selection. If you move on to the second stage, you take the GRE or the GMAT. If you move to the third stage, you are called to the ISB campus for a personal interview. There are no GDs involved. And then we make you a guaranteed but deferred admission. What that means is nobody will start a class at ISB without having experience, because the range of experience at ISB is 2 to 25 years. And the average experience at ISB is 5 years. So anybody can apply to ISB, but nobody starts a class without having 2 years experience roughly. People who already have graduated from college, but do not have 2 years of experience as on 31st March, they will apply to ISB under the early entry option. Now this again is a deferred mode of entry where your admission is guaranteed subject to you're completing the work X requirement, which is 2 years. People who already have 2+ years as on 31st March 2017, if you are selected, we will not make a deferred admission, but you will start a class in April 2017. Moving on to the qualities we look for when we make a decision at ISB. So we evaluate a candidature in 3 different buckets. Now listen very carefully. Bucket number 1 is the academic bucket of evaluation, where we will look at past academic performances, your past academic percentages or CGPAs. And this starts from class 12. So class 12, graduation, post-graduation, any professional courses you might have, and the GMAT or the GRE test. Now This year onwards, ISB is accepting GRE as well along with GMAT, and it is completely up to the candidate to choose one test. Like all top business schools, we have provided the choice to the candidate to decide which test to take. As far as ISB is concerned, we do not have a preference, neither are we going to convert one score to another. The second bucket of evaluation is the leadership potential bucket. Now for people who have significant experience, we will look into your career progression. We will look into ways in which you have contributed to the companies you have been working for. For people who do not yet have the opportunity of leading people, let me tell you that we also value individual contribution. So what is really important is ways in which you have contributed to the companies you've been working for, rather than saying that so many people report to me, or I work for a marquee organization. That is all good, but we look at things beyond that as well. So again, I'm reiterating, what is most important is ways in which you have contributed to the organization, be it in individual capacity or be it in terms of leading large teams. For people who don't have a lot of experience, you can talk about your initiative taking abilities, which is a proxy to your leadership potential. So you can talk about things you have done in school, college, outside of work, and bring those leadership qualities out. The final bucket of evaluation is the personal qualities bucket, where we look at your communication abilities, your extracurriculars, your NGO societal work. But a caveat here, and be under no pressure to have NGO or societal work on the application if you are not really involved. So it will add a lot of value if you have been involved in such work and you are really passionate about it. But do not start NGO work now for the next deadline at ISB. And that won't be really credible, and we don't have any checklist. We don't have a checkbox. The evaluation is very, very holistic in nature. And the presence of one very strong area or the absence of few elements will not really affect your admission decision. So my recommendation is, do a lot of soul searching, find out your strengths and portray your highlight and portray your strengths. Do not worry about your weaknesses, because we are not going to pick up on your weakness. We have a basic philosophy at ISB admissions here, which is that people succeed in life because of their strengths and in spite of their weaknesses. So I recommend that you should focus only on your strengths and bring those things out evident in the application. So the entire application is online. I'm not going to devote a lot of time on things which are already up there on the website, but let me talk about few essentials. You need a bachelor's degree, any kind of bachelor's degree. Correspondence, part-time is also all right. And we start calculating work experience only after you have graduated and are gainfully employed. So all your pre-graduation work experience might be valued, but it will not be counted. And I mentioned this earlier as well. Counting ends on 31st of March. So today you might not have 2 years of experience, but if you have 2 years experience on 31st March 2017, you can apply to the PGP. Otherwise, you can apply to the early entry option or LP if you are in college. Now you can take a GMAT or the GRE. Let me talk about recommendation here. So although you'll have to write different essays, give us a lot of information about your academics, your employment, all that is up there on the website. Fill those details. But who should be a recommender? That's a very key question. So this recommendation at ISB is not a essay sort of recommendation, but we have 6 very, very specific questions, and you should choose a recommender, somebody who knows you very well professionally and somebody who would be in a position to answer those questions. Do not go to your blood relatives, and do not choose a personal sort of recommendation, go with a professional one. So there are 3 simple rules for the recommendation. Rule number 1, the person should have worked with you at some point in time. not necessarily right now. At any point in time, if he has worked with you, he can be a recommender. Rule number 2, that person should be senior to you in terms of roles and responsibilities. And rule number 3, finally, your contribution to work should have impacted his performance. Now, if you can keep in mind these 3 rules, it will make up for an ideal recommendation. For people in family business and their own startups, do not go to blood relations. I mentioned that earlier as well, but you can go to your vendors, buyers, customers, bankers, auditors, CA, etc. Okay, so there are a lot of ways in which you can get recommendation, and we need only one recommendation. All you have to do is give us the official email ID of that person, and we will write to him or her, and you will be notified as and when he receives or he starts writing that recommendation for you. Now there are certain essays which needs to be written. Please go to the website and find out what the topics are. And let me now explain to you how does the shortlisting happen for interview. Now, very important, and this information is not really readily available, so pay close attention. Once you submit your application, the entire data will come to us. And the first thing we are going to do is we are going to mask or hide your GMAT, GRE, and your academic percentages. Now, with these data hidden, we will hand over the entire application to 2 independent evaluators who will have access to everything else except for the percentages and the GMAT, GRE, and they will decide whether you should be called for interview or not. Now, these are 2 independent evaluators. If both of them independently say yes, you are called for an interview. If both of them say no, you are not called for an interview. If they differ in their opinion, then the admissions director will take the final call. Now what that means is that your application is very important. So you could have had a very good GRE score, a 338, okay? But if you had written bad essays and you were careless about writing your application, despite a very high GRE score, you will not even be called for an interview. Therefore, I am stressing again and again that you should devote adequate time in writing the application, and you should start early in doing that. Now, once you are invited for the interview, again, it is not a yes/no decision going forward. The interview panel is going to rate you on certain key attributes. It is going to be a panel discussion, 3 members on the panel, 2 alumni, 1 senior staff from ISB, and the entire discussion will be focused around your application. And I mentioned earlier, it is a strength-based interview. We will only try to find out how good you are in the strengths which are evident from the application. Now the interviewing panel will rate you on certain key attributes, and their job is done. They do not decide who gets into ISB. After the interview is over and we have got those ratings, do not assume that the GMAT, GRE score and academic percentages are not important. They are very important, because after the interview we will take those ratings, assign certain weightages to those, go back to the application, take out your GRE score, assign certain weightage to that, take out your academic percentages, assign certain weightages to that, and that is how you get a final weighted score. That score will decide who gets into ISB and who gets the merit scholarship. I hope I am absolutely clear, and if you have any questions we can answer those later as well. Now financing of the program is very easy. There are a lot of banks which are available and they provide a collateral free loan if you make it to ISB. There are different kinds of scholarships: merit scholarship, need scholarship, and corporate scholarships. The advantages of applying in cycle 1 are that you are eligible for a full tuition fee waiver, and 50% of the merit and need scholarship are awarded in cycle 1. Otherwise, in terms of the rigor of selection, nothing changes. If you were to make it to ISB, you will make it, either you apply in cycle 1 or cycle 2. Since you cannot apply in both cycles during the same year, my recommendation is you should apply when you are best ready. So give it your best shot. Pay close attention to what you mention on the application. Here are the timelines. Cycle 1 deadline is 15th October. Cycle 2 deadline is January 15th. Apply when you're best ready. Here's the link I was talking about, pgpapp.isb.edu. So create a login for yourself at the earliest if you are serious about applying to ISB this year. This is the ISB 360 mobile application we have available on iTunes, BlackBerry, as well as on Android. So very rich app which has a lot of interactive content. You should download this and you will find this extremely valuable, and you will be able to make an informed decision once you go through the entire application. Thank you, Vishnu, and thank you participants for the webinar. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure you have a bright future ahead of you. If you have any questions, you can of course reach out to Vishnu and he can facilitate getting answers from PGP from us. Absolute pleasure. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rupesh. Thank you so much. So guys, I hope you had a fantastic session. It was a very, very holistic experience. Got a lot of valuable contents. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have loved it. Thank you so much, Rupesh, for sharing this content. So guys, I hope you got a lot of information. So guys, I hope you had a fantastic session. So until I see you in the upcoming seminars, this is Vishnu signing off. A very good evening and take care, guys.